So if you're a family law attorney, your prospect is someone who had a life, a family, assets.
Yeah.
They have a snap moment in their life, or they have a divorce. Now they're in a different trajectory. They're in conflict. What they're going for you for is resolution. Like you're part of their movie now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Law Firm Marketing Minute. As always, I'm your host, Smike, and we have...
I'm Eddie. I think I'm going to be here more often, so I'm going to say this a couple of times, so get used to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna... These podcast episodes are going to end up being like episodes of Mad Men or something like that, where... I feel like gradually over time, it just becomes like the room starts filling with smoke.
Dude, it's so bad. I mean, I always wanted to be Donald Draper, and I think on the episode, you're supposed to watch it and not want to be Donald Draper. Like,
Yeah. I
think they did everything they could to make you not, and I was like, I still like him.
Well, it's like the Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, yeah.
Like after the Wolf of Wall Street movie came out, like so many people were like, "Oh my gosh, I want to be just like
I want
to
to do pump and dump stocks and penny stocks.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to be Tony Soprano. Who didn't love Tony Soprano? He was not a nice person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Breaking Bad's another great example. Like Walt, like you're not supposed to like Walt.
I don't like you either, but it's all right.
Yeah.
You're up there with Walt.
Oh, you know what? I'd take that.
I'll take it. Yeah, he's a good guy, I think.
Yeah.
Deep down,
somewhere that has yet
at
to
the
be
end.
revealed.
I mean, I can't now. No, let's not do Breaking Bad spoilers. Even though it came out like 10, got to be at least 10, 15 years.
It was a while
15
ago.
years ago now. Can't get Breaking Bad spoilers out.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Breaking Bad by now and
Get
you watch
after
TV,
it.
yeah,
Get after it.
Yeah, you got to do it. But one of the things that I think is super important that has helped these TV shows kind of excel or exceed in their runs was they formatted them perfectly. I mean, we talk about Breaking Bad.
There's a science. When I was in
Yeah.
grad school, they went down the science of screenwriting. I mean, it's so there's so much of a formula there that it's almost like plug and play. It's like a little bit of creativity and a lot of plug and play. It can be done.
Well, it comes down to the psychology.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to action, reaction, end up in a different spot than when you began. Have we ever heard people say, I'm so addicted to this show? The only thing they're addicted to is conflict resolution. Like, there's so much conflict. Like the TV show 24, I know I'm 40 years old, but the TV show 24, I mean, at the end of the episode, you're like, man, like I am addicted because there's like 19 different plot lines and they're all like devastating. Like I'm addicted because it's conflict resolution.
Yeah, and then you have the people that get angry. Have you ever seen the movie Prisoners?
Oh, with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yep.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Wait, who was it? The Denny guy?
Oh, yeah, Paul Dano.
Oh, no, the director.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the movie Dune.
Dune.
What?
Dune.
Done.
No, the movie was called Dune.
Agree to disagree.
Anyways, people there are some. I mean, I love Prisoners, but
It was awesome.
There's people that did not like how it ended because. So no spoilers here, but it doesn't end in like a very conflict resolution kind of way.
Yeah.
Right. And people hate and not hate, but like people very much dislike that. The movie, I like the ending. I think the ending is justified, but the entire movie is great, and people agree on that, and they just don't like the ending.
Look at the end of The Sopranos. When it goes, I mean, I think it's very obvious as to what happens at the end, but I mean, if you don't have a clear definitive, it's like you tell a story, it's like, a guy knocked on my door, he opened up, and he threatened me.
Yeah.
Okay, what happened?
Yeah.
No, that's it. Like what? Why did he threaten you? What did you do when he threatened him? I mean, there's two people angry at each other at your door right now. How did this end? I mean, our brains are wired for this. I mean, this is a great book called Wired for Story. Our brains are wired for these 3-act structures and their formatting and content and the way we. And the funny thing is that whether you're doing a blog or whether you're doing a video or whether you're creating Breaking Bad, like the principles are just universal.
Yeah,
and they have been. I mean, since the
dawn of time.
Yeah, since human beings became human beings, we're wired for story.
Yeah.
I mean, people telling stories. I mean, constellations were built. We're just naturally drawn to stories and creating stories.
Well, what's that formula that the creators of South Park have?
Oh, that is see when I told you said every action in there and is an equal, it has an opposite, not an opposite and equal reaction. That's Newton. So when you're telling a story, it's action, reaction, action, reaction, action, reaction. So when the creators of South Park were saying, it's like, okay, person A walks in the door, therefore something else happens. And people get lost in that. So they say person A, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
What people don't do, or people do, which is wrong, is like person A walks in the door and also person B moves over there. There has to be a connection between point A and point B.
Yeah.
Person A walks in the door and has an influence or an impact on person B, and that creates a now we have like a chemical reaction between person A and person B, and what is going to happen. They can't have two independent like functions. They have to be like combined with one another. So it's like that's how we get drawn into story, is when one action. Chekhov's gun. You know what Chekhov's gun is?
I'm very familiar with the name.
If there is a gun in Act 1, it has to go off in Act 2, so everything has a place. Like, you cannot just randomly insert things into a story unless they have a functionality within the story or a functionality within content.
Yeah, and I feel like when we can get into this, a whole nother episode, but I feel like that's what a lot of movies nowadays are missing. That's very lazy screenwriting, because they're missing that. There's more of a just introduce random people at random times just to fill a space.
I mean, I just saw the Paddington Bear movie with my daughter on my Saturday, and I was telling her, I mean, she's 9 years old. I was telling her about Chekhov's gun. I'm like, every piece of that screenplay or dialogue came into action later in the story. Like, even like these small actions with his umbrella became elements of him getting out of scenarios later on. But the way he used the umbrella in London, I mean, it's just like these very small pieces. Everything has its place, and you can't forget that.
So how does this affect marketing? Well, you want to take on blogs, like the format of blogs?
I mean, it's just, is anyone going to read a legal blog and compare it to Family Guy or The Simpsons? Absolutely not. But I mean, the principles are there. I had a great writing teacher who told me that writing's not binary. I mean, there's no such thing as like, well, just because it works in a screenplay doesn't mean it can't work in a blog or it can't work in a video. I mean, these are all these are universal principles. So I mean, like when you sit down to write a blog or for something, you have to think that every sentence is a reason for your prospect, your client, to get up and walk away. I mean, I've seen so many amateur blogs, and then AI is great at this. In the realm of business law, there's so much difficulty and triumph and trial.
Well, that aspect is very synonymous with movies and what we're talking about here, because I mean, there's been so many times where I will sit down to watch a movie, I'm a little intrigued, and I will get 10-15 minutes into it and I'll be like, I'm not wasting my time. Like, I don't think this is good enough to continue.
I'm not in it. I mean, like, you have,
it's not keeping me hooked.
No, you have to. There's an element of like, man, every sentence or every line is just someone's reason to get up and walk away. And I mean, and on the internet, I mean, just every reason is to click off your website. Every reason is to scroll through something else or find another attorney. I mean, and it's just, I think so. And even when I was in grad school, I think so many people think that I have your attention because you're reading it. So I have your attention. Like, it's not, you have to earn someone's attention.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean,
and you have to keep earning it.
You have to continuously. Every line has to be a way to continue. If it's absolutely couldn't agree more.
So let's talk very specifically about legal blogs and their formatting. What we just spoke about rehooking or hooking and rehooking. Like, how does that play? I imagine that it's probably slightly different, because legal blogs are really meant to be more informational rather than.
No, I wouldn't say slightly different at all. All. Because, I mean, like, all right, so, I mean, we talked about the snap in Breaking Bad or whatever, in whatever episode you're watching or whatever movie. A snap, all that means is that you have stasis and there's a problem, and now you're off in a different trajectory. So if you're a family law attorney, your prospect is someone who had a life, a family, assets. Yeah. They have a snap moment in their life, or they have a divorce. Now they're in a different trajectory. They're in conflict. What they're going for you for is resolution. Like, you're part of their movie now. Think of it that way. You're part of their solution.
We talk about story brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, story brand. We can go into that too. But story branding, all this ties back to is that we're obsessed with story, and our brains are wired for story.
Yeah.
So we're trying to encapsulate or tap into that element. But you have somebody who's like, they're in crisis, and so I said they're looking for solution. They're not addicted to your blog, or they're not craving your blog, but they're absolutely craving some sort of resolution. They're
Yeah.
craving some sort of direction. What do I do next? I mean, like, what is the next scene in my life? And I know we keep tying this back to movies and whatever, but
I mean, it's
that's
the
just
best
a
way to
fact.
tie it back because,
It's
tell
a fact.
story. Yeah.
I mean, I was like, okay, am I going to lose my house? Like, how much money am I going to pay in alimony? I mean, can I afford to live? Like, how do I form a budget? Do I need child support? I mean, or excuse me, how much money am I going to get in child support? Is it going to be enough? These are all questions that people have when they go to a legal blog. So that you're answering a solution. You're answering a problem. I mean, you are a problem solver. You're in the problem solving business, and that's what I mean on a broad scale. What you should be focusing on.
That's basically what you're saying. That's basically your part to play in the story.
That's your part. Yeah, that's your role.
Yeah, you're the wizard to little Frodo Baggins.
And think about how you read a blog yourself. I mean, you scan it, you go to the bottom, you read something, go back to the top. You're not.
So to that point, real
Please,
quick,
go.
Let's talk about that then.
Yeah.
how to format in terms of like the.
So I
how
mean,
to set it up.
we normally. When I write, it's 400 to 600 words. For us, it's usually, it's mostly like 500, 600, sometimes longer. But that's usually, it's very intentional in the sense that you have someone's attention for only so long. It's like there's a great ad. It was just a massive chunk of text. It was like 2 pages long, and the top was, "This is why nobody reads long form copy."
Nice.
Because you look at the blog, like, ugh, like I don't want to read this.
I feel like ads used to be like that in the 60s,
They
right?
used to. They used to have large chunks of copy, and if you look at like an email marketing campaign, like, I dare you to a good one. Like, I dare you to find one that's more. Each paragraph is maybe a sentence, usually 2. And there's going to be lists involved. They're very short sentences. The sentences are usually no more than 14 words, 14 to 16 words max. Then you're talking paragraphs that are probably 1 or 2 sentences long. And then you also want to have lists. I call them listicles. I mean, something. It's just like they're just kind of dangling like an icicle.
Goodness gracious.
Listicles, like it's an icicle. It's a list icicle.
All right. I gotta keep my mind out. I was thinking of something else, but let's continue.
No, listicles. I mean,
You set me up. You know exactly what.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Continue.
No, but I mean, I do have a copywriting book that took that word, so I did not come up with that. So okay, but it's in the middle of the blog, you have lists. I mean, so like if someone sees a list, they're going to be drawn to the list itself. They're going to read the list, and that's going to be intriguing. So when I said every line is important, I mean that list is important. I mean, how much if you got someone's attention for that list, can you make them enticed enough to read the paragraphs, which again are only going to be a couple of sentences. Yeah. You're looking at shortish sentences, shortish paragraphs, and plenty of lists involved in the same time. So it's just how you read is how someone else reads. Like you're scanning blogs. You're not reading them like a book. And I think so many people think that a blog is like a book. Mm-hmm. And I want to tell a narrative. I want to tell a 3-act structure. Like, no, that's not what's happening here. But we are trying to entice people.
Yeah, and there's also something to like being totally aware of who your audience is, right? Because for example, there's a reason why you don't bring kids to R-rated movie. Right, like
my parents did.
Oh no,
Look how I
that
turned
explains
out.
a lot. But because there's obviously it's rated R for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And so the movie, knowing its audience, because it's got that rating R, well, it gets the rating after the fact. But even so, knowing its audience, like, it's not going to tailor, or at least shouldn't tailor to little kids, right?
No.
So, like, in terms of knowing your audience as a lawyer, a law firm, you shouldn't be writing it for other law firms.
No, great point.
Right?
Like, right. Who is your audience? I mean, and again, that seems like an obvious point when people say, "Oh, yeah, obviously I'm not right." But I mean, so many people get caught up. It's like, no, this isn't sophisticated enough. Like another lawyer's going to read this and they're going to judge me.
Yeah,
and it's like I've gotten that a lot too, and I understand that. Like, it's a very valid concern. But it's not a valid concern in the sense it's going to impact your marketing, and it's certainly not going to impact your client. I mean, like, if you're a family law attorney, I mean, you're talking, hypothetically, anyone from 18 to 80.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're talking about a very wide range here. I mean, in terms of educational background, depending on who your target audience is, I mean, income level, you're talking to a very broad, and you want to appeal to both people. Depending on who you're targeting. So, yeah, you're not going to... I mean, you have to know your audience. You have to know what the thing is. And it's like you're not writing for other attorneys. You're writing for a prospect. And you're trying to get them one step closer to trusting you to be able to say, yeah, I want to work with that person.
Yeah.
Or after reading this, I'm more inclined to book a consultation now that I've read this. Or just now I want to watch videos about this person. I want to keep looking.
Yeah. And people don't trust what they don't understand.
Never.
So if you're speaking in, legal jargon, and you're not explaining what this legal jargon is, like, how are they gonna even know?
Right.
Like, I can throw some Latin up on a screen, and I don't think people are gonna trust me
I
very
joke
much.
with lawyers about this because I hate the word legalese, but I mean, like, law texts are
it's a word they
dense.
use.
They're so dense, and like going back to what the purpose is here is someone saying, like, I have a problem.
Yeah,
I need to get. I need resolution. What is the quickest route? Not only so you're giving them a path, but you're giving them a path like laced with mines and explosions. Like it's too dense. Like give them a clear route forward.
Yeah.
Like don't show off.
Yeah.
Help.
Exactly. The other aspect that we wanted to talk about, and this actually fits a little bit more into the whole conversation about how movies and TV shows are formatted, is social media content, mainly video.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost goes kind of word for word. So if you watch any good movie or TV show, I'm saying emphasis on good, because there is a lot of bad stuff, bad movies out there. But
all of it, most of it.
Nah, I mean, okay, yeah, most of it's probably.
I'm old and
great.
grumpy, but yeah.
Yeah. But for the really good movies, right? Like, think about the ones that you enjoy watching, right?
Yep.
So obviously with a movie, it's much different than, say, a social media post, because with a social media post, you really only have about 3, 4, 5 seconds to reel someone in.
If you're rounding up, I mean, like
that's usually the
I'd kill
average.
for 5 seconds, right? I mean, that's a great scenario.
Yeah. So, and then once you have them, you want to rehook them. So now think about like your favorite movie, right?
Yep.
How does the movie, obviously it's more than 5 seconds. It's probably about like 5, 10, 15 minutes. How does the movie hook you, right? Like, how does it hook you in?
Action, reaction.
Something like that, right? There was a point where most movies that I saw in theaters, they always started off with a very high energy scene. Right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's not so much anymore as it was, but they started off with a very high energy scene. Whether it was like, if it was like a fantasy movie, it would be like some sort of battle, or if it was a spy movie, there'd be like a chase or something like that.
Remember the first Daniel Craig James Bond movie? It's like a 15-minute chase where he's like hanging off a crane. He's like, he hasn't even said a word yet, 15 minutes in, but he's hanging off a crane.
Yeah, so they hook you in, and then the process is to rehook. Now, you don't have to get all extravagant as a small law firm. You don't have to get all, you don't have to hang off a crane or anything like that.
That'd be awesome if you could.
If you're a personal injury lawyer,
could you imagine?
That would be an insane piece of content.
That is yet to happen.
And I if you want to do it, like,
it's yours.
I want to be a part of it.
Yeah, all right, yeah, it's yours if you do it with us. Michael drive the crane, not licensed.
But it's kind of like that same scenario where it's like they need to know that they're in the right place and that what they're going to experience is something that's going to benefit them, right? If I'm watching a movie and the first scene is like a very high energetic movie and I'm digging it, right? Like, it's good. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this kind of
This
deal,
is what this movie can offer me. Like, there could
You're
be
in a
more
little
of this
sample
happening. Yeah, there
size.
could be more of this.
Yes, yeah. So for a social media post, mainly a video, you want to start off clear cut. Like, a great way and a simple way to start off is take whatever question that you're answering and just say that question. Yeah. So if as if someone was asking you. So what are the 5 things to do after you get into a car accident? Go ahead. Start off with that. Yep. What are the 5 things to do if you get injured in a car accident?
Right, because now you're thinking, it's like, okay, now you're envisioning, okay, now I'll know what to do. Now I'm prepared. Mm-hmm. I'm not driving around clueless, etc. I mean, there's a possibility and hope in there that you know what you're going to do afterwards. Yeah.
But also the way that social media post is set up with that hook, it's like, okay, I am going to now learn the 5 things to do after getting
this is
into a
what
car
I'm
accident.
getting.
Yeah.
My attention, you're giving me 5 things. I'm giving you my attention. That's the trade.
Yeah, and there might be a thought that crosses people's minds that say like, oh well, if I just give away what I'm going to talk about, like,
Yeah.
where's the intrigue? Well, that's
Yeah.
the intrigue. They don't know what the 5 things are.
Fair.
Heck, you could get to number 4. You still have intrigue because they don't know what the 5th thing is.
And even if they have 5 things to do in a personal injury after a car accident, they're still going to need help with all 5 of them.
Yeah. Or they could have an assumption,
Yeah.
and then they want to match their assumption to what is
Yep.
reality.
Confirmation. It's like I need to take scene. I need to take pictures of the scene. I need to contact an attorney. I need to go to the doctor. Where does my list match up to a trained professional's list?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that there's multiple elements to it, but it's really it's tried and true from that psychology that
Yep.
hey, you want to make sure that you are driving home the point, but you are setting it up.
Yep.
Just as well. Like the ending is just as important as the beginning, and the beginning is just as important as the end.
Yeah, I mean, and the greatest form of content is not necessarily a how-to; it's a done for you. So if you have a checklist of things to do after a car accident, that is what you call a done for you piece of content. Not so much a how-to or an explanation. I mean, that those are lower forms of content, but a how-to it definitely is lower on the totem pole than a done for you piece of content.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this, I encourage you, next time you watch a good movie or good TV show, sometimes you don't really realize if a TV show or a movie is actually good until you watch it all the way through.
Movies tend to be way more, I mean, they're like short stories in the sense that, I mean, all the pieces are very apparent. Like TV shows go on tangents.
Sure, yeah.
But harder to see.
Yeah, but I encourage you, next time you are viewing one of those, just be mindful about how it's set up, right? If that first 5, 10, 15 minutes of the movie hooks you in, just know that's the psychology behind it. It worked. And if it rehooks you, like if it hooks you in, gives you some context, and then it rehooks you, like, that's psychology.
Yeah, and every time I open my mailbox, I get a piece of like mail. That's a marketing, and if I open it, I save it.
Yeah.
Like, well, how did you get? Because I know what you're doing. Like, I'm very well aware of what you're doing. What tricks you're employing right now. If you get me to open it, like, you got me. I'm like, okay. Even I know it's like the magician who's tricking. He still fools me. I'm like, all right, I have to save this. This is good enough to steal. Good enough to steal.
Here's a little trick if you are doing direct mail, and this might be time consuming, but I guarantee you that it's worth it. And then we'll kind of cap off the episode. But one little trick: handwrite where it's going.
Yep.
Because nobody does it.
Nobody does it.
There's no time to.
Nope.
And heck, you could do it. If you have 10 people to do it for, great.
And
it's
a disruptor. I mean, it's like it catches your attention. It's like, okay, you're just about to throw it out in this handwritten. Like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah, and it tells you, or it tells the receiver that you care.
Yep.
You care enough to actually spend your time on something specifically for them. So that's gonna do it for this episode.
Love it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun talking about it because I love movies.
We can always, next time we'll talk about how Lord of the Rings lifted up Harry Potter.
Whoa. Maybe you won't be on the next episode after saying that.
It's if they had a time machine, but all right.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for listening. Please leave a review. We greatly appreciate it.
Always.
Helps grow the podcast. Eddie, I'm sure you'll be on the next one, actually.
I hope so, if I'm still allowed to be here.
All right, everyone, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.